Good morning, gentlemen. Blessings as you begin your week with us. Pray that we are a great resource to you and that we can help you on your journey towards Christian manhood. Anything that we can do to help you do that, let us know. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. We're pretty active on Instagram, a little bit less active on Facebook, but we're there and you can find us. And if you are active on Facebook, we will find you. So we appreciate anything that you can do to be a part of what we're doing, the movement we're creating, the revival in Christian manhood that we are becoming a part of. If you would like to support this podcast financially, you can do that one of two ways. You can either sponsor the podcast by contacting me and letting me know what you'd like to do and how you'd like to do it. You can also advertise on the podcast. You've heard several people do that. Pastor Steinberg and the Christ for Disciplers podcast do so, as do a couple of others. But if you would like to do that, if you'd like to help support us and put your name out there for men of God to hear, you can feel free to do so as well. Finally, gentlemen, the reality is that right now we live in a world where many, many, many people, not everybody by any means, but many, many, many people, especially the people who are talking the loudest in the media and in the on social media, in the social media world, many people believe that traditional manhood and biblical manhood is not only obsolete but harmful and wrong. Do not believe that, but also test yourself. Make sure that you are living out your calling as men of God. This whole toxic masculinity thing is not fake and made up. There are a whole lot of men in the world who are highly toxic, and they do it in the name of masculinity. Don't let that be you. Get into the Word, get into Scripture. Be the man that God created you to be. That means you're going to be tough and strong, but it means you're also going to be tender. It means you're going to be a warrior and a poet. Be very careful who you choose to model yourself after. I love John Wayne. I love Clint Eastwood. But those men are sinners, and those men are often far from the picture that Jesus paints for us of Christian manhood. So find examples of Christian manhood in Scripture. Think about David. Think about Solomon. Think about Paul. Think about Peter. Wrestle with God like Jacob. Fight giants like David. Fight and trust the Lord like Gideon. Do all these things. Follow the leaders of Scripture. Follow their example. And then look to the ultimate example of manhood in Jesus Christ. And live out your calling as men of God. God's blessings this week. Hope that we can enrich you and encourage you. After the word from our sponsor, we're going to get into the show. Here we go.
Hello, this is Seth and Jenna Herlick, and we are also known as Him and Her Worship.
We are also the creators of the What Do I Know podcast, where we talk about life while having very little life experience ourselves.
We are a normal couple passionate about lighting hearts on fire for Jesus, who just happen to play music.
We write our own original worship music, and we play in churches all around the country, and we'd love to connect with you.
We have lots of ways for you to do that. On Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify, we are at Him and Her Worship, and we have a website, and we are himandherworship.com.
Also, check out our podcast at Apple Podcasts and other streaming platforms.
God bless you. Thanks so much for your time, and we cannot wait to meet you in person.
You are listening to the Gird Up Podcast. To gird up is an ancient way of preparing oneself for hard work or a battle ahead. Our work is to reclaim masculinity in the modern world and to live out our calling as men of God. Here you will find a community of believers working hard to become the men that God created us to be. Now it's time to roll up your sleeves and let's get to work.
Sometimes when I'm like thinking really hard, which is often, I will like hold my breath, and Kayla will notice it. But I'll be like, but I'll do that. Like, I'll do that a couple times. She's like, Kayla, what is going on? I'm like, I'm thinking about something. She's like, yeah, I know. Stop it.
I'm Charlie Gabach.
And I'm Jason Fry.
And you are listening to the Gird Up Podcast. This is Man Talk Monday. The grunter over there, he's Jay Fry.
It's like I literally have to stop myself from breathing sometimes to be able to exert enough energy to perform a thought. And so sometimes this is just me, okay? Like, this is me. I didn't sign up for this. This is just hot. This is just me. All right?
I understand.
Never been this mad. luckily, we're outside enjoying the sunshine
Yep.
on the Fry family Happy Acres farm.
That's right. And the goat is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, the goat is, which, like I told you last time, makes me nervous because that goat is sneaky. It's got
It is a sneaky goat.
sneaky little goat.
Sneaky little goat. Anyway, we're going through
Today's-
Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And today's rule number 4, is what, Jay Fry?
Today's rule is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not somebody else today.
Good. Yeah. It's pretty simple, but it's wildly important. We get caught. It's an easy web to get caught in, comparing ourselves to other people. And the easiest low hanging fruit on this one would be at the gym or at work, where you say, why is he always stronger than me? Well, why are they always a little bit better than me? It's really, really, really easy to do that. And the question is, those two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other. The only time you should be comparing each other is when you're actually competing against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
really, like, in the competition of life, right? Like you do just want to be bettering yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so I can't speak to someone else's journey and how they're doing in their life and how they're doing with their success. I only have control over mine, right? Like I put time and effort into me succeeding in whatever avenue it may be, right? The gym or work or my finances or my family life or whatever it may be. I need to just be better than who I was yesterday, because it's really easy for me to find someone that's got their stuff together and say, man, I wish I could be more like that.
I don't know who said this, but I've heard people talk about this idea that we tend to think that there's a limited amount of pie, and so when somebody else has a big piece of pie or a bigger piece of pie than I do, we tend to think that means that they're stealing some of our, like, there's only so much pie to go
right.
around, right? But the reality is there's an unlimited pie. Like, there's an unlimited amount of pie. It's not like somebody drives a better car than you, right? There's somebody that drives a better car than you and makes more money than you. The fact that they're making more money than you does not mean that you are making less money because they're making more money. Those two things are not directly related. So it's not like if they're making money, they're using up a certain amount of money, bandwidth in the world.
There's less
Yeah.
for you now because
Right.
they're making all of it.
Right, exactly. The reality is that making money is not a good gauge for success, because you can be a wildly successful mechanic and still not make as much money as an awful attorney. Like,
Right.
it's just sometimes it's just not gonna happen. And so, like, that's what I like about the rule we're talking about today is comparing to yourself. So it's the idea of growth and moving forward and being better every day, something that you can control instead of something that you cannot control.
Yeah, I actually think you can take that rule because the rule is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not someone else today. But you can also use that rule in terms of find someone that you would like to emulate, right? Like find someone that's a good example for you, right? Like not in so much the way of like I wish I could be like them. It's, will this person take the time to teach me to have the results that they have?
Yeah.
Right? Almost like a proactive approach to it. Like, yes, compare yourself to them, but then figure out where you are and see what you would have to do to get to where they're at, right? Like,
Yeah.
it almost goes back to a little bit of the talk about, you want to surround yourself with people that want the best for you. Well, a lot of times those people that want the best for you are sometimes like the mentors in your life, right? Like they're the people that in your life you want, maybe they biblically have a like a good Christian family atmosphere. Like, it's a gentleman that leads his family the way that, God kind of laid out how a man should lead in their family, right? And you're just not there yet. Now go talk to him, befriend him. That person wants what's best for you. They will help you get to that point. Like they will walk you through that, right? Like, so you can compare yourself to other people, but don't do it in such a way of like, I wish I was there. Like, like they've done something I haven't. Don't be resentful about it. It's like, okay, like this is where I was yesterday and that's where I want to be someday. Well, what do I got to do to get there?
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need to have like personal access to these people either.
Right.
Like, so for example, if you want to be a little bit more like Chip and Joe Gaines, if you want to live on a little farm by yourself with absolutely awesome, loving family and like a marriage like theirs and a business like theirs, and if you want to look like that, you don't need to go down to Texas and convince them to be friends with you and mentor you. Read every book and every blog they've ever read, or they're not ever read, ever written. Watch every show they've ever been on. Watch all the YouTube videos they make. Follow them on social media. If they've been a guest on a podcast or if they did a book tour, get all that information and just glean as much as you can from them. Learn as much as you can from them. Think about your favorite authors or your favorite writers or your favorite public figures. Chances are they have somewhere that they're publishing their thoughts, and you can go find that and you can use that to your advantage. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and be like personally friends with them, as cool as that might be.
Oh, right, absolutely. I feel like I could be good friends with Chip.
Oh,
He's-
absolutely.
he's
I
good
think
people.
that's the appeal of Chip, is that he could be good friends with anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, like in terms of, because like that is a really easy trap to fall into. Like not so much the side of finding a mentor, but like the trap of you take stock of your life and you kind of like, oh, I wish I was better at something, right? Like in my day-to-day like work, like I work in sales, and sales is a very like metric driven occupation, right? You got to hit certain numbers. And it'd be really easy for me to like look at the person that does the most and be like, well, yesterday I only sold 4, but he got 10 out, right? Whatever that may be. If you're in sales, you kind of get that. Like the easy thing would be like, man, like I'll never be that good or whatever. It's like, well, no, like he's been doing this for 4 years or 5 years, whatever it may be. What do I got to do to get to that point, right? Be proactive about it.
Well, and if your goal is just to be the better than him, or just to like if just to be the best salesman in the company or whatever, what if your potential is higher than that?
Absolutely.
Like, what if your potential is higher than that? So what if you like if you're a teacher at a school and the school is not a successful school, like it's a poorly run school, you don't get good results, but you're the best teacher at that school. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a great teacher. It just
Right.
means you're better than the other teachers around. So if your goal is to be the best teacher you can be, then you can compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to be, Disney's Teacher of the Year or whatever, like now, once again, you've set an extremely high goal, which is fine, but now it's an objective, or
You're right.
subjective.
Oh, right.
It's not an objective, thing. Like somebody has to go through and pick them.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be the best teacher you can possibly be and still not get selected and still not meet that goal.
Right.
So I guess what I'm getting to is it's important to set appropriate goals as well, so that the goals you're chasing are things that you can measure and things that are being measured against where you used to be. So instead of that athlete mentality where you're always like chasing the next one, where like if you want to win the batting title, you know exactly what the guy in front of you, like what his batting average is. But instead of having that mentality and just chasing that number, you're saying, hey, I want to be a better hitter than I was last year. And you're saying, well, I hit 325 last year. Let's hit 330 this year. And then you're continually growing and you're getting better. And you're not going to get frustrated because you didn't take giant leaps all at once.
All right.
Low-hanging fruit, small victories.
It almost just kind of goes into like, if I make sure that I pour my efforts into getting better and doing the best that I can, a lot of times that other goal of beating the guy in front of you will take care of itself, right? Like, because maybe he doesn't have that same mentality, right? Maybe he's resting on his laurels of his success and things like that, or whatever it may be, right? But all of a sudden, like, because all you are focused on what you can control and what you can do and what effort you can put into it, all of a sudden you pass the guy that you thought maybe couldn't be beat, or you pass that goal that you thought you couldn't get, and then all of a sudden you're on to the next one without even really realizing, because you're just so focused on, I'm just going to put the best effort forward that I can,
Yeah. Well, and then there's also a relational aspect to it as well, because if you say I'm going to be the best salesman at our. Sorry, I keep picking on salesman. I guess,
That's
but
all
if you're
right.
gonna be the best salesman in the company, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get there, and to do that, you're first of all, again, you're chasing somebody like you could be a far better salesman than you've ever been before, and I hire a new guy who just knocks it out of the park and is a killer salesman, right? And he beats you out. You might be extremely successful, but you're still going to feel defeated, and you're going to think you were defeated because you didn't achieve that goal. And now on the flip side, you also you might be the best salesman in the company now, but end up on a list of the 5 worst husbands in the world. you
Right,
know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a team thing. Like it's the James Harden argument, right? he might be the MVP, but his team didn't win.
Right.
You know, he might score more points than anybody else, but did his team win? You know, is that question. Like what's the actual outcome that you really want? And finding outcomes that you're seeking that are actually going to make you happy, not the superficial ones.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's like I
I think
said.
we're
Like,
good.
stop.
Man, we're so good at this.
We are. Compared to what we did yesterday, I think we're pretty successful.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
compared to last week's episode, this is definitely better. All right, y'all. God bless you. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy the sunshine if the sun is still shining.
Yeah. Talk to you next time.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the Gird Up Podcast. If you like what you're hearing on our podcast, make sure you're sharing it with friends and family, men in your life who you think need to hear our message. You can find us on social media, on Facebook under the Gird Up Podcast, and there's a Gird Up community as well there where you can interact with other men on the journey toward Christian manhood. You can find us on Instagram as girdup_like_a_man. If you'd like to help us bring our message to more men just like you all around the world, you can hit up our Patreon account. Type in www.patreon.com/girdup. And finally, please leave a 5-star rating or review on whatever platform you use to listen to our podcast, whether it's iTunes or Spotify. What that does is it helps us get more attention in the podcast world and bring more men to our message. Thank you again for listening to our podcast. Thank you for all the ways you support us and help spread the word. Until next time, go gird up and be the man that God created you to be.